You'll work.
Okay. It's 6 o'clock. I call the meeting to order. Brad, would you give the invocation, please? Everybody stand.
If you'd bow your heads and pray with me. Dear Lord, we are thankful for this day, Lord. We're thankful for the ability that we have to gather here together and try to better the city of Ivanhoe. We're just thankful that there are citizens who are concerned about their community and who are here and watching, and for those who aren't here. We're also grateful for the leaders of this community who are sacrificing of their time and trying to make this a better place to live, and concerned about their fellow citizens. Please be with us during this meeting tonight. Guide the decisions that are made. Let it be in accordance with your will. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First on the agenda, I'd like to talk about the roads. Council, I'd like to call your attention to the spreadsheet here from Langford. Sir? Oh. Yes, do we have one item?
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. David Harrington's not with us this evening. Minutes from the regular meeting from December 15th, 2015. No objections?
No objections.
Okay. Council, I'd like to call your attention to the map and the spreadsheet that with the blue lines on it. Do you have one, Tony?
Yes, thank you.
I went to, we met with Langford on January the 11th and went through every one of the grants that we're working on. We've got the project names. They call them all kinds of things: GLO, MIT, MIT Supplement, MOD, GLO, RCP. The $11.4 million grant is flood and drainage. We're waiting for the Historical Commission to approve the archaeological digs. And once that's approved, the final notice will be run through the granting authority. The estimated authority to use the grant funds is February of this year. The $7.9 million grant is for streets and flood drainage improvements. Those are the red items on the map that you have in front of you. I'm going to try to get this on the web page so that everybody can go to it and look at it at their leisure. The performance statement for the modification to remove project sites that have already been completed, submitted to the GLO, and to request a release of funds and environmental packet to be uploaded to TIGR. I don't even know what that is, but it's for GLO review, the General Land Office. Estimated authorization for the use of grant funds is between January 25th and January 27th of this month. The $1.9 million grant is roadway drainage improvements. It's part of the 75979 project that's got several names. The application's been submitted. We're waiting for GLO, the General Land Office, to review and send out requests for more information. And we may end up going to contract late this summer. There's a comprehensive plan that's ongoing. This is an item that we need council approval on. It's the $300,000 comprehensive plan. We did one recently that was $30,000. We found a lot of things wrong with it or that did not fit the footprint of our little city here. This one would go into much more detail, and we would be able to give them more input as to what it is that would fit Ivanhoe. And I had a CD sent out an email with some statements on there about it, and I had everything lined up here. Here it is. No. At any rate, we're going to have to talk about that and as a council and see if we want to move forward with it or not. The $300,000 grant for 22nd Street, that's the Community Development Grant. Part of the TDA Community Development Grant. So that's a done deal for 22nd Street. That's the very back corner of the city. We anticipate going to contract March of this year. Any shortfall of monies for doing 22nd Street will come out of the $7.9 million grant that's being used for streets and flood drainage. The application is in for $300,000 or $500,000 grant with $25,000 matching funds for 28th Street. We're in the process of, I say we, Justin is in the process of walking down the street and getting surveys completed by each one of the residents there to, because this is for a low to moderate income, and we'd have to know how many people are living along that street. Whether they're there or not, we have to go through that process. Yeah, Justin, thank you, sir.
Absolutely, happy to help.
Precinct 1, this is a big one. This was done, Joe Blackshear. It's $1.185 million to repave Ivanhoe Drive from the monuments to Candy Cane Park. The funds are approved and the work is going to begin in 12 to 18 months from now. We have approximately $350,000, $390,000 left of our bond. We're going to use that for Camelot. There's not a lot of pre-work that has to be done. We anticipate going out for bids in February. So that's where we are with all of our road work at the moment. And I will try to get that put up on the webpage so that you'll be able to see it. So, next on the agenda is Mr. Harrison with his dam report. Oh, one last thing. The lot at the north end of Ivanhoe Lake is a county tax sale. I'll be going to County Commissioners Court on February the 13th and the Woodville ISD School Board meeting on the 13th to get them to establish what they want for the properties. It's a tax sale. The other thing I haven't mentioned tonight was that all of the lands for the work around Lake Ivanhoe have been identified now. There's going to be the dump station, the land around the old store, and the land by the low water crossing is going to be, they're in the process of appraising that to get dollar values so that IPOA can bring it to the community for 3 readings and a vote. And I'd hope to have the appraisals done before now, but it just takes time. So anyway, I'm sorry, Ray. Mr. Harrison, you're up.
There's not a lot going on with the dams due to the weather and the people and questions about the caulking we've been using. So we still are doing what we've been doing, nothing since about September. What we have to do is get that caulking replaced on the spillway so we can quit being a level control valve. And that's really all I have, unless y'all have questions.
No, sir, thank you.
Leave it on.
Judge Rader. Municipal court activity.
Okay, December was not a lot going on. Total fines and court costs collected was $739.10. The city retained $444.40. We sent $181.22 to the state. We sent $107.52 to the collection agency, and the Omni, which is the failure to appear organization of the state, we sent $29.78. Fiscal year to date, fines collected was $2,073, and previous fiscal year to date was $3,559. That's about it. It was just really slow.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any questions?
Thank you, Judge.
Officer Drum.
All right. For the month of December, we had around 57 calls. Terry had 20 of those calls. I had 15 of them, 4 animal complaints and 3 CPS investigations. Bob had 18 calls, 2 offense reports, and completed a warrant arrest and 1 other arrest. From the sheriff's office, we had 22 calls come in, and the rest of the calls actually came directly from residents of Ivanhoe itself.
Did you want to say anything about the corner back there? Abernathy?
So talking with the sheriff's office, I'm sure some of y'all saw on Facebook about the arrest back on 28th Street. We were kind of concerned at first because of the fact we weren't notified before the incident happened. Because Ivanhoe, we're not in a position where we have 24-hour coverage out here. So I did speak with the sheriff's office, their chief deputy over there, and he did give clarification into what actually happened in that situation, where the DA's office was concerned that this individual would not be showing up to trial for court. And so the judge issued a warrant for him and called the sheriff's office. It was not a planned investigation. It wasn't a planned raid that went involved into it. It was basically simply showed up at the house, knocked on the door, went in to get him. There were narcotics in plain view, and that's what led to everything else. So it wasn't that they were working investigations out here, not involved and things like that. Because I did talk with the chief deputy, he did confirm to me that, hey, everything is on the open up. There's not any issues between working cases with us. It's just the way things fell that day on trying to get this individual to make sure he's available for court.
And he pled out for 16 years.
Yes, he did plead out. He got 30 years for one offense and then 20 years for another offense. So they're running them concurrently. So he's looking at 30 years right now. So that is a major sore spot in Ivanhoe that will be that's going to be cleaned up apparently. So it's a good thing.
And that's a shot that's going to be heard around the
absolutely.
community
Absolutely.
big time.
Absolutely.
Big time.
So we appreciate all the work that Ivanhoe's done, but also the sheriff's office and highway patrol, because everybody had a hand in this individual. So
Thank you, sir.
all right.
Jackie. Code enforcement activity.
Okay, for the month of December, we closed 8 cases. They consist of dogs, septic, lot maintenance, pools without fences, no permits, and junk RV. There are 13 cases that I'm working hands-on with the property owners currently, and they include lot maintenance, junk vehicles or cars, junk utility trailers, a junk watercraft, 3 junk RVs, and 3 substandard or
You look
abandoned
here okay?
structures. And we placed, in the month of December, we placed 4 stop work order signs and 2 non-conforming signs. We would have done more, but we had training, or well, I had training this month, and then I'd been out for a while, so.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Marshall. You know, if you were a marshal, you would have been Marshal.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't have cared for that. December is notoriously slow, obviously, for all the departments, especially for us. The weather, the rain. We usually use this as a catch-up month on maintenance, which we have been doing. We have answered a few complaints, resolved a few complaints. Hopefully it picks up. I know the work orders keep picking back up. We were down to 3, now we're back up to 13, but when the weather doesn't allow us, there's not a whole lot that we can do until it does. Other than that, the other part of that is going fairly well. I passed out to council a little handwritten deal that put together. Starts from the conception of using this mix that we've been satisfied with so far. I'll skip to the next to last page. It's the wow page. Y'all can look over the others at your own time. Since we started this 6 months ago, we have mixed and put out approximately 930 tons of this material. The very last page is a map that's color coordinated with the months that we put this stuff out and on which road, to where we can be able to keep up with it, keep an eye on it, see how long it's going to last. So far, so good. Even through all the rain, it's getting better and better. Joe McIntyre,
Yes, sir.
have you seen that in front of your house?
I tell you what, in 18 years, this is the best our road has ever looked.
That's what I like to hear. And after the heavy rain,
Yeah, no.
held up great.
The guy running maintaining
Mhm.
knows how to keep the road from holding water. It's running
Yes, he
over
does.
it's
We-
running off in the ditch.
Good man. We're glad to have him. Tickled to have him. That's the first coating. We will return at a later date and put a second coat on that. So it's just going to get better and better. But that's the results we've been hearing from everywhere that we've put it on so far. After 6 months, we have spent a grand total of $4,417.50 on this material. That's labor, that's fuel, that's wear and tear on the equipment. And for that, we've gotten a tad over 2 miles covered. So that's about $2,100 and some odd dollars a mile. Had we used the limestone that we were using up until 6 months ago, instead of $4,417.50, we would have spent $44,361 if we were to buy 930 tons of limestone, which gives us a grand total savings up to date today of $39,943.50. So thank y'all for allowing us to even try this.
Do we make budget adjustments?
Remember that, please. It's 6 months, and the summer months, I think this is only going to speed up. We've saved almost $40,000 in the first 6 months. If we can do at least that, that's a savings of $80,000 for materials. So maybe it will change the budget next year a little.
Do you need any more equipment?
Oh, yeah, I've got a list, and it's growing every day.
We've talked a bit about a water tank.
Yeah, there's this material. It's less dusty than the limestone. However, it still has dust, especially during the summer. And we've talked about it before, trying to get a water tank.
To put on the
Right, a little 500-gallon tank with a pump, a spray bar. We put it down, and if we can get the water on it immediately, it packs so much quicker, faster, and the dust completely goes away. We've gotten lucky, sometimes hit it right before rain. That helps. And after all this rain in December, when we first started putting it out in January, it was still pretty wet, pretty damp. So it took a little longer to do, but once it dries out, it's there. It's going to stay for a while. Any questions?
At least you think so.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Camelot and Ivanhoe Drive,
Mm-hmm.
that really looks nice over there. What did you use on that? It's pretty clear. I mean,
On the corners, or
well, it goes up about a block, I guess.
okay, up. If
Yeah.
you're coming in Camelot, up to the
Right,
right.
right.
That was our talented motor grader operator.
Joe did that, huh?
Joe did that.
But is that the mix?
No, sir. That's pretty much what was on the road.
Okay, well, that's the best it's ever looked.
Yes, it is. And if you'll notice, he cut some wing ditches on the side,
Yeah.
and now when it rains, it doesn't run across that intersection
It
anymore.
always ran that out over.
Yep, yeah.
Really well.
So it's the little stuff
Thank
like
you.
that.
Tell him thank you, too.
I will do that. He's usually listening to us, so
Okay, good.
that's good. It's the little things like that that we're finally being able to catch up on. We've got a great crew. Everybody works well together. They know what they're doing, and they know how to do it. So it's coming along. It's coming along. Anything else?
It's okay. Budget is not until August, so.
Well, okay, we'll leave that one there. We'll leave that one there. Anybody else? Justin?
Oh. Testing, maybe, hopefully. Hey, there we go, got a green light. Let me know if you would please when your schedule permits. I'd like to get with you, take a tour of all the facilities and everything, and kind of see just where you guys are headed and see what I can do to
Hey, I can-
help the cause.
I can squeeze 5 minutes in any day.
Okay, sounds good. Except on days off, I wouldn't ask you to
Oh,
do
no,
that.
no.
Be sure he takes the Hummer.
We'll give him the
Hey, I like
grand
this
tour.
guy.
We'll give him the grand tour
Thank
on
you.
a 30-degree day.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah. Okay, that's it. Thank y'all very much. We appreciate y'all's support for helping us to get to where we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Carolyn, can you hear us? Are you there?
Yes, I can still hear you. I'm good.
Okay, you're on the agenda as number 7.
Yes,
P-
the
P-
P&Z is bringing 3 items before us. The first one is dealing with the city marshal and establishing that they're removing the statement the city marshal is an at-will employee and making it just say that it is the employee of the city on an as-needed basis. The second one they are bringing to us is to redo the
Can we talk about this one at a time?
Item 7.
So, what this says is the amendment will remove the stipulation that marshal personnel are part-time only. And an immediate need exists to adopt this amendment to allow for full-time marshal employment for the increased safety and benefit of the citizens of Ivanhoe.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, can
Yeah.
we possibly go back to agenda item number 7, consider for discussion action planning and zoning commission recommendations before we get into the
Okay.
ordinances?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Go ahead, Carolyn. I apologize.
So the 3 ordinances they're bringing before us was that the first one, which is the city marshal, removing the words from an at-will employee to just saying an employee. The second ordinance they're bringing is code enforcement officer and changing it to code enforcement official. This will allow it to cover the different types of trainings type things so that you're not always having to rely on somebody who had that certification. The third one they are bringing before us is to clarify fencing in the front yard and how a gate is judged, and there's a maximum height and being able to see into the yard. So, discussion?
Discussion, does anybody have comments about the change, the wording of the marshals?
First of all, yes, I do. You cannot remove the at-will clause on the marshals because Texas is an at-will state, which states that either the city or the marshals may terminate their employment at any time with or without clause. And that is per Texas law.
I think,
To
You're
me,
sa- you're
that's
saying
an
that
implied
You cannot
across the
remove
board
it.
state thing,
It's-
so whether or not
so-
we have it in our
It's not removed.
written
It's not-
thing or not, it still stands.
Okay, what section 33.03 will say is removal, that we are leaving it in there to state that the city marshal is an at-will employee and may be terminated without cause or appeal. So we're not removing that from the ordinance. That section of the ordinance is called the removal of, so that's still there.
Okay,
What we were trying to do with this is the original ordinance for, on section 33 of the code, said it was a part-time position, and we needed to change that.
the
We
full-time
have a
employment
full-time
to be able
position.
to, for the city, yes. Okay, sorry, I was reading that wrong then.
So the ordinance is gonna say removal of part-time and put full-time?
So what the ordinance will say is, it's two sections, 33.01, position established. Section A, the position of the city marshal of the city is hereby established. The positions will be employed on an as-needed basis rather than a part-time basis. And then there's the section 33.03, removal, which says the city marshal is an at-will employee.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we accept this ordinance 2023-1.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No questions?
No questions?
No questions.
Any
Aye,
discussion?
no,
Thank you, sir.
Motion passed. Thank you, Carolyn. Next.
The second ordinance is renaming the city code enforcement officer as the city code enforcement official.
Can you hold one? What is it, Justin? I'm sorry.
We skipped over an agenda item number 7.
Well, I think, so
This is second, isn't it?
This-
we're a little bit, number 7 is, their recommendations are items number 9, 10, and 11 of the agenda.
Okay.
We're just combining.
That's not the way I understood that. I was under the impression that item number 7 was discussing the
Marshall.
positions available on the Planning and Zoning Commission,
No, that's eight.
unless I just,
That's
It's
on
number
item
eight.
eight.
okay, joke's on me, I bow out here.
Oh, it's okay. We're all-
Play the new guy
We're
card.
gonna,
Yeah, I'm the new
Number 7 is, yes, we're considering it, and then we will move down to the next agenda item? Or not?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
these two.
Yeah.
so that was number 9. Now we're at 10, 2023-2, which you were talking about the code enforcement officer verbiage changing to code enforcement official.
Yes, sir.
Okay, go.
Officer actually has a deeper meaning to it, so, and certifications that often come with it, so they want to change the word from officer to official, which I agree with.
Shouldn't that be done throughout the entire set of ordinances, wherever
Well,
that shows up?
that is, we have done
Yes,
this
sir, they are
before.
working
That's
on
all we're
that,
doing
and
is
they're
straightening
working on,
some of them
the
up.
other definitions within there as well, to make sure that it is reflected throughout the thing. This is just the first step in the beginnings of it.
Okay.
Councilman Morris?
Well, we did this a couple of years ago. I mean, we have changed it from officer to official. But there's some places in our ordinances that it still says officer, and that's what I thought P&Z was doing, was,
I think Jackie has some input on it.
It's supposed to say both, where it says officer/official.
yes.
So that way you're not back and forth and keep paying to have it changed all the time. So whether you have an officer or a code enforcement official, it covers both of them.
Well, what it says is that the amendment will rename City Code Enforcement Officer to City Code Enforcement Official.
But it's supposed to be both of them because Joe was our code enforcement officer and Jackie's our code enforcement official after Joe retired. And I think Jackie may, if I'm correct, be looking at becoming an officer at some point. So if we don't change, if we change it to just one or the other, we're gonna have to redo the ordinance over and over and over. So just, it should be officer / official.
Then this would be,
I would prefer if we're going to use that terminology, then use the word or, not necessarily just a slash. But official is like an umbrella term that will be covered both officers and officials.
Yes.
so y'all can either,
The difference is an officer is something that the state issues you
License,
a license
yeah.
for.
It's a licensed
It's a licensed-
position
You're
through
a
the state.
licensed official, right? An officer
A
from
licensed
the
officer
state.
is still an official.
Yes,
But
a
an
licensed
official,
officer
not
is still
always that
official.
officer.
so, council, I would recommend, before making taking any action on this, that either, you consider this the first reading or, adopt this with that change being made, that anywhere in this that says code enforcement official, we add,
I think we'll postpone it and send it back to have it worded properly so that it's clean and we all have a good look at it.
I make a motion that we take that action on those ordinances.
Just postpone it.
Yeah, is it postpone or a motion needed?
Yeah.
Now, is there a motion needed for this one? Okay.
I so make the motion.
I would just call it the first reading of the,
Okay.
of the ordinance. Yeah.
Okay.
The first reading with the changes that we're going to make.
Yeah.
Okay.
First reading, need changes. Okay. So moving right along, now we're to the fence gate resolution 2023 4R.
This ordinance
No.
is to amendify and clarify the gate height of the fence facing public street.
Correct. That's item 11. So the amendment will clarify the height of a gate within a fence facing a public street. A need exists to adopt this amendment to clarify the fence ordinance. Any fence or wall located in the front yard of any single-family residential lot that is adjacent to a public street shall be no higher than 5 feet. Movable components of the gate may exceed fence height, provided that the gate material does not restrict visibility into property and that the movable sections do not exceed 8 feet in height. Determination on placement of front yard fencing will be made by the code enforcement official or his or her designee after all utilities have been located and clearly marked. Materials used for front yard fencing will be determined acceptable by the code enforcement official or his or her designee at the time of permit application and approval. Example of unacceptable fencing are, but are not limited to, plywood, railroad ties, and corrugated metal sheets. Yeah, railroad, that'd be really hard to move. Any comments?
Oh,
I
Per-
do not agree with the fact that it needs to be visible into the property. I don't understand why that part was particularly added other than random people being able to see into the yard.
yeah, there still exists a right to privacy, and, we're not allowed to, or we can have a privacy fence adjacent to the road, so long as it's not over 5 feet tall. I don't understand why the gate itself couldn't also be providing privacy.
The whole
So,
idea of a privacy fence is privacy.
exactly.
You would think.
So I
And
would.
pickets are 6 feet long, you know,
Right.
you can't, you,
And in addition to that, I've done a little bit of research and I might have overlooked something, but I haven't found anywhere in writing where there is a plan or a guideline that sets forth how the designee comes about. I would actually like to have something regarding that in place before we move forward with amending or even creating new ordinances that state the designee. I mean, it just makes sense to me, so. I don't know if this takes a motion for me to throw that out there, or if that's just general conversation on the topic. How would you have us proceed, Mr. Mayor?
I think at this point, what do we want to do with this?
One comment I want to make, and I'm trying to go back and check the current ordinance. So right now, I'm not sure, this is about the gate height. You know, this is saying you can have, the fence has to be 5 feet,
And
and
you have to be able to see through it.
Yeah, the amendment is stating that they would
Just-
like the gate to be see-through, regardless
well, no,
of
it's-
height.
It's changing the gate height to 8 feet, I believe.
It says it can't be over 8 feet,
Right.
and the proposed amendment states that the gate, let me pull up the proposed amendment here. All right. Okay, CD, let's see here. I just had it up earlier. Okay, hold on.
154.136.
Right. Okay, thank you, CD. The proposed amendment, I compared the proposed amendment to the actual ordinance as read on the website. The only thing that is changing is the movable components of the gate may exceed fence height, provided that the gate material does not restrict visibility into the property and that the movable sections do not exceed 8 feet in height. I mean, regardless of height there, okay, so your fence can, or your gate can be higher than your fence, but we're still talking about you can't see through, or you can see through, and, I just can't back this one, Mayor. You know, that combined with, that there's nothing in writing that outlines how a designee is chosen. So I make a motion that we send this back to the P and Z, get a little more, context on what's going on, clarification, if that's a motion that needs to be made.
Maybe. Normally what we do is, turn off the microphone back on. My battery's dead. We have an idea, we want something done. We talk to P and Z and our, whoever our liaison is, goes to P and Z. And then they bring it back to us like they're doing here, and then we talk about if this is what we want or not. So this is our process, this is normal.
So, but, and, you know, so I just have my thoughts on the matter.
Right.
And then there's no motion necessary to send it back. The mayor makes that decision to send it back or calls it to a vote. And bear with my questions, Mr. Moore, or Councilman Morris.
Well, what happens is, okay, they present it to us, we don't have to vote on it right now. We're just going over it. So there is no motion at this point.
And along those lines, as long as Public Works approves a fence that is not obstructing traffic and visibility, so long as the fence is attractive with wood, I'm not in favor of see-through. It's a privacy thing. So long as it is as long as the fence is neat, clean, and fits the community. Railroad ties, tin, no. So I think that I'm in favor of sending this back to P and Z and have it rewritten so that it has more clarification to it with all these changes.
I have one more comment. I have chain link fence, it's 5 foot, but my gate is probably 8 feet, and that's probably standard size for those double gates. That's probably why they put 8 feet. I'm not sure they're talking about an 8-foot wooden fence, but, you know, you can't see through that, so. What does it, I mean, if you have a 5-foot fence in front of your house that's solid, you know, planks or whatever you call those things, Well, I would think they would probably want to have a gate that matched.
Exactly, and
That's
I
my
have a problem with that
thoughts
so long as
Yeah.
it's attractive, so long as it's not
Right.
10
Yeah,
or.
yeah, right.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I think you're,
It's their property, as I think
The-
we're reaching too far.
the point that that I just want to make sure that we understand in this, the point in this is right now you're only permitted a 5-foot fence. So they're saying that this will take you up. You can do a 8-foot gate now. Everything else still has to be 5 feet. You can now move to an 8-foot gate, but if you're doing an 8-foot gate, it has to be see-through. So right now you can have a 5-foot gate. It still has to be the same.
I think the 8-foot gate comes out and we stay at 5 feet. across the board.
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to make sure that the
well,
council
mine's already
understood
8
that.
feet. So, I mean, if you have a chain link fence and you have a double gate or triple
Yeah,
gate,
I don't have a
it's,
problem with an 8.
And this is the height. We're
We're
talking
talking
about
height, not
height. We're
width.
talking height.
no,
If you have a
it's,
5-foot fence,
the
you
gate
can
is
turn
8
the
feet
gate.
tall.
Oh,
It's a lot taller
And I
than the
think that's,
fence.
if I recall, and I may be misquoting, the purpose behind this is that we already had a lot of gates higher than the fence height,
Yeah, I
is
think,
the reason why this came about.
yeah, I want to be legal.
is that bad?
And consistent.
Well,
This is-
currently they're out of code. And we were trying to, I think, bring that in code rather than enforcing gates.
Well, I've seen places where they have posts at each end of the gate, and they have a structure over the top. It may have their name or some ornamental metal or something like that. What difference does that make if it's attractive and people have probably paid good money for it? What difference, who's it bothering?
I see no problem with a header like that.
I mean,
I mean, as long as it's kept safe and doesn't fall into the street on a moving vehicle or a child walking down the road.
So, yeah, I mean, so what y'all are discussing here and what y'all need to send back to P and Z for a new version of this, since this is gonna just be a first reading, is do you leave it at 5 feet? Do you move it higher with some condition or move it higher with no condition?
I thought what we're looking at is it can be 8 foot, but you want to be able to see through it. We just don't want it to be a solid gate. But, I mean, that's what they're saying. It has to be a solid gate. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, as it reads right now, they want if the gate is 8 feet, they want it to be see-through. I don't agree with that.
Well, mine is see-through, so I don't have any problem, but it's chain link.
Right.
yeah. Well, the idea of having a privacy fence is for privacy. And
Currently, the privacy only applies to 5 feet.
yeah,
So we
Yeah.
send this ordinance back to allow their fence or their gate height to not be an issue, and we allow them the right to privacy.
And what we need to double check here, and what I'm not aware of in this discussion, is if there is some kind of fire code or something that we're overlooking here. We need to make sure we're not overstepping that, so.
Am I allowed to ask the marshal a question?
Sure.
Marshal Drummond, do you see any issue with the height of a fencing gate when you're called out on an emergency response?
With an 8-foot gate, it's hard to see what's there. If you can see through the gate to ascertain your area, then that gives us a little leeway as far as that. My thing is still that's puzzling me, is if I have a 5-foot fence, why do I got an 8-foot high gate? But, I mean,
well, why would you have a 5-foot fence when pickets come in 6-foot lengths?
I agree with that too.
I mean, it's stupid. The whole thing is
I
stupid.
agree with you 100%.
Now,
But not legal.
when the,
As long as you can see through you know what you're walking into, then it helps.
now, our ordinance currently reads the fence can be no taller than 5 feet. So if you walk up to an 8-foot gate, you take a step to the left or the right, look over the 5-foot fence, ascertain what is behind, make sure you don't have a Sasquatch coming at you.
Right.
I mean, so with that said, I'm still on board with if they want an 8-foot gate that doesn't,
So
that isn't
we'll,
see-through,
this is
you
the
know,
first
allow the
reading, we'll
residents
send
their
it back,
privacy.
we'll send it back for a revision.
What we're saying is we want to be able to see through the gate, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're saying.
But if somebody has a privacy fence, then they should have a privacy gate.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And-
That's the contention.
So the gate would actually be see-through.
Okay. Moving right along. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank
Number eight. Thank you, sir.
What would we do without you, CD? Thank
CD
you.
is the engine that makes the place run.
Agreed, agreed.
So we are, sir? What?
The number 8?
So we have 4 open positions for P and Z and 5 applications. Valerie Weber, Carla McCauley, Robert Stoneman, Laurie Seams, and Susie Fortenberry. How would you proceed with that? Do you have any nominations, recommendations? The way it'll have to be is that council will nominate, vote, and then then after that, I appoint.
I'll nominate Laurie Sims for P and Z.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Valerie.
So do we have to vote on the nominations one by one, or throw the recommendations out?
I don't think there's
This
any.
is not one of those where we have to do it individually, is it? Each one, turn it into you?
It would be easier
Yeah.
Okay.
to deal with each nomination, and that way you know when you got 4.
So, yeah.
Okay.
You got 4 spots. Just however y'all choose to fill those 4 spots.
So you nominated Laurie Seams?
Valerie,
Well, let's vote on Laurie.
okay,
Aye.
maybe, no,
Is Carolyn still on the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
Carolyn?
Yes, sir.
There's a recommendation or nomination for Laurie Seams to go to P and Z.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay. So it's an agreement. Yeah. So Laurie Seams will go to P and Z. Valerie Weber is the next nominee.
I'll second.
Affirmative.
Will?
Aye.
Okay.
Uh,
Valerie is nominated.
I would like to recommend Mr. Bob Stoneman.
I'd like to nominate Carla McCauley.
So we have Robert Stoneman, Susie Fortenberry, and Carla McCauley.
I'll second Carla.
Well, the
The one on the table is Robert right now, Stoneman. Have a vote from council.
Aye.
aye.
Two to one. Carolyn, we have 2-1 on Mr. Stoneman. How about you?
I vote yes.
Okay. Mr. Stoneman is on there. So now we're at Susie Fortenberry and Carla McCauley.
I nominated Carla.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, Carla is the 4th one. Lisa, that's all positions. Susie is, thank you for the application and the time that you've served. So I appoint all 4 of these people to P and Z. Am I able to say who takes Mr. Rader's place?
Yeah, I think that's up to P&Z.
It was my understanding that it was a mayoral decision with the advice and input of P&Z, but that's just my understanding. I could be mistaken.
That's been the general accepted principle we don't have.
Okay. Okay, that's fine.
What are we gonna do?
Okay, P&Z will get with the mayor
Yeah,
and let him know after they discuss amongst themselves
who's gonna be
what they
Yeah,
recommend.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Now to number 13. This has to do with, let's consider for discussion, action resolution 2023-4R, authorizing the submission of an application for the 2023.
I'm sorry, Mayor. Back up one there. 12.
Ms. Bennett's not here.
That was scratched. So this is for the $300,000 comprehensive plan. Whoever opts to vote for this is making recommendations for my signature it's a multi-document application for that $300,000 Community Development Fund grant. I touched on it briefly at the beginning. $300,000. I mean, my initial response was that, we just did one, and do we need to spend the money just to spend it? But CD made some really good points about it, and I can't find his email, but it made me reconsider enough to put it on the agenda.
Well, I think, when we went over Grant Works, the one that they did, I mean, we had a lot of questions, a lot of problems with what they had put in there.
Yes, sir.
It was like tailored for everybody, not just us.
It was starting from scratch with nothing.
Yeah, but
we've got a footprint already in place,
Right.
and I believe that we would be able to give them input on the front end so that they would be able to tailor whatever their comprehensive plan ends up being to more mirror our footprint.
yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Okay, as I expressed to Mayor Blackstone, this is a comprehensive plan that's going to focus a bit more towards what the housing and urban development folks are sending out money towards, and that is making a community resilient. So it will go into a lot more detail on how the city responds in a case of a disaster, whether it's natural or man-made. What would happen, worst case scenario, that a bomb would be planted in this building and it goes off, whether there's people here or not. What happens to city operations at that point? Things like that. And the previous comprehensive plan, as the mayor pointed out and Tommy pointed out, that it does set the stage for us to proceed. This is going to be a lot more comprehensive, and it'll require a lot more input from the council than the preceding one did. Thank you.
Thank you, CD. So, do I have a motion to allow me to sign these multi-documents?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you.
Just so everybody knows, our normal procedures let the mayor be the person that signs all the documents other than CD sometimes.
Thank you. Number 14, consider for discussion, action resolution number 2023-5R, authorizing signatories for 2023 and 24 Texas CDBG application for future grants administered through the Texas Department of Agriculture and the General Land Office grants. I need a motion that would allow the mayor and the mayor pro tem to sign these documents for payment requests.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Number 15, didn't we just talk about that, CD? The Texas Land Office Resilient Communities Program grant? No? Comprehensive plan? Isn't that a duplicate?
Okay, 13 was in regards to the 2023-24
Is it, do we need to discuss it?
Okay. Let's see, if we'll go back to the submission of the application on the 2023, that's the $500,000 grant.
Okay. So what do we need to do with this?
Okay, since the discussion was in regards to the Resilient Communities Program grant, we'll consider that 15 was addressed.
Okay,
And,
We'll go back to 13,
and then pick up, yes, sir, 13.
okay.
which is the $500,000 one.
What we're addressing here is we need to make a motion to accept Rader to do this.
Authorizing the submission of that grant. We've done all the preliminary work.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I'm still,
It's okay, I appreciate it.
okay. We've done all the preliminary work. The council has authorized the engineer and the
In the grant.
grant writer.
You
Yes.
just need to
So now
authorize
it's-
signing and sending.
Yes,
So do we need a motion for that?
yes.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. So CD?
Okay, now 15's already taken care of.
Yeah,
Carolyn did the motion, Justin did the second. It passed.
yes, sir. Now the financial report for December.
I'll make a motion, we postpone it.
Motion's on the floor.
Is that a serious motion?
It's up, no, CD, there's some errors go ahead, CD. I withdraw my motion for 15 minutes.
Thank you, Councilman Warren. I was hoping I was going to get out.
I'll get you out of it.
Okay, treasurer's report. Now, there's two that's listed on the agenda for December, and December was delayed because the accounting service had not gotten all of the reconciliations back to the city in time for the council meeting last month. So I forwarded that information to the council after we did get that in. I see no reason not to go ahead and proceed with adopting the December report. So if the council will,
Motion to adopt the December financial report.
Second.
All in favor?
thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we move to January.
Motion passes.
Pardon me. The financial documents, including the bank and tax class statements, I sent those out to the council earlier in the month. The accountant financial reports and reconciliation details for each account have been sent out to the council as they came in. As a matter of fact, some of those arrived today. The other items to report for the month, the state comptroller direct deposited $6,578.79. That happened on the 13th of this month for the sales and use taxes that were collected in November, reported to the comptroller in December. Last month's sales tax deposit was $6,383. What it means is we have experienced a 14.2% drop in income, and that was right there when I figured that folks would be buying in preparation for Christmas. So I'm going to keep a watch on this one. Now, the year-to-date ending December the 31st, the total sales tax came in at $26,762, and you'll see that, Justin. I'm sorry, Councilman Gregory, in the next page there. But okay, now that $26,762 compares to last year for the same month of $27,337, which is a $575 difference year-to-date. So if we keep supporting our local businesses, then we'll probably not be too far off. I'm not sure at this point whether we're going to be making our budget that we had anticipated making. I'm not sure what to attribute the slowdown, especially around the holidays for. Maybe as we move further into the year, whether it's because of consumer wanting to hold back to pay income tax bills, or they didn't have the money that came in from the federal government like occurred last year. I'm not sure what that might be leading to, but we're going to keep an eye on that. Ad valorem taxes received January the 11th, $104,232.68 went to maintenance and operations, our general fund for taking care of business of the city. $25,673.65 went to the interest and sinking fund. That total that we're going to need to have available by the end of the year will be $129,906.33. Now, we did receive $11.21 in delinquent taxes. That was payment for Ivanhoe North when former Mayor Joe McIntyre presided over that entity for the 2010 year. It leaves a calculated balance of $5,307.40 for that only year that Ivanhoe North was actually a city before being taken into the city of Ivanhoe. With the December ad valorem deposit, the city will be able to pay the INS debt service of $26,987.50 that'll be due by the 1st of March. We usually make that payment about the middle of February. The remaining balance in the INS account, $27,815 for the payment, will build with the monthly ad valorem payments to reach and hopefully be slightly above the upcoming September 1st debt service payment of $106,987.50. Pledged securities at Citizen State Bank, and if you're going through, as I am going through these paragraphs on my report, the different documents that I've provided for backing, pledged securities total $144,002, and combined with that $250,000 FDIC insurance has all our funds at Citizen State Bank protected. Now, I'll be watching the general fund balance closely as we get close to the January ad valorem payment that'll be coming along in mid-February. Might be requesting Mayor Blackstone to transfer funds from our Citizen State Bank maintenance and operations or general fund account over to text class so that we avoid going over the pledged securities protection at Citizen State Bank. And we certainly don't want to do that with public funds. The accountants or the auditors will really be all over us. The Office of the Governor deposited $5,776.50 to the general fund account, reimbursing the city for the body-worn cameras grant that includes software and video storage for the Marshal's Department. Since the grant application that was applied in November of 2021, the cost of that system increased, and the match the city paid towards the grant was $2,515.50. Now, just a side note, I read where the city of Woodville is applying for vehicle and body cameras for their police department, and the cost will be somewhere north of $100,000. Of course, Woodville will require a larger number of units and considerably more storage, but it's an indication of the rising cost of equipment across the board. I have submitted the fiscal year 2022 documentation to the Texas Municipal League auditor relating to employee payroll and monthly workman's compensation payments to the state and the Form 941 biweekly payment to the IRS. I expect the TML audit closeout meeting should take place in the next week or two. I don't foresee any difficulties or any problems there. The one-sheet account balance that I provided as background information for you shows the amount in each of the city's 13 accounts as of this morning. Pardon me. So I'll not go over each of those individually. Documents have already started being compiled and sent to the outside auditor in preparation for the fiscal year 2022 financial audit. Due to the accountant firm that oversees the month-to-month financial records keeping busy, finishing up their school district audits that they work on this time of the year, we have scheduled the city audit for the week of February 13th through the 17th. That also happens to be the city council meeting week, so if I seem a bit overwhelmed at next month's council meeting, we'll make it through. And the fiscal year audit should be ready for the March council meeting. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell. I'll included in the information packet that I handed to you, that closeout from the Texas Water Development Board. That's the Ivanhoe Drive drainage project where we put the larger culverts in there below Ivanhoe Dam. That has been closed out now, according to the information that was sent out December the 9th. So it's addressed to the Honorable Kathy Bennett, but it applies to the mayor. So you will see there where we're closed out with that. We'll have to keep those records for at least 3 years, but we're pretty much done with that project. Then Councilman Warren had requested the payroll budget, showing the budget and the current expenditures that we've had. This is showing up as of the last payroll at the end of December. And if you use the quarterly payments method to look at, I've got the percentage remaining left in that particular person's budget out to the side. So it should be somewhere around 75%. That could change. An example would be if Public Works has to call out employees for some emergency. Jackie fills in for me on a Saturday or something when I'm out of the office, so the office is staffed. Instances like that. So that's movable, but it gives the council a closer idea of where expenses are on payroll. TML's Claim Center, that's a multi-page document there. It shows you our summary of claims experience, what's happened since TML's taken us on to cover anything, including errors and omissions. Once again, the budget versus actuals. If we take out the line items that refer to grant revenues or grant expenses, then and don't look at those particular line items, then the budget versus actuals does give us a snapshot. Now, something that Councilman Warren and I had talked about, and I presented it to Kyle, our accountant, is in regards to the administration. We have a part-time employee. There's been no expenses pulled from that line item. Whether it's on the payroll end that they're not coding it to the proper person or what has happened, but I'm getting with Kyle on that, and we'll get a lot better handle on this as we move to QuickBooks Desktop away from QuickBooks Online. As I presented previously, QuickBooks Online takes all of our accounts and dumps them into this report, which is not a way that I'm comfortable with reading. That's why I said wherever you see a grant, something in there, take that out because it doesn't apply to the general operations budget.
Okay.
So that is my summary recap for January. Thank you for hearing me through. Question?
I just have a question here.
Yes, sir.
Under 6046, administrative contracts, do we have an airplane that got flooded?
6046 administration floodplain.
Yeah, that's the wrong way to spell flood. That's an airplane. I don't know if we got one or not.
No. Actually, I think they went to the accountant in the budget that way, and somehow or another I failed to correct that.
Sorry, I pointed it out.
And speaking of which, PLAIN, our floodplain manager, is Mr. McIntyre. So, and that, by the way, does come into play really big time if somebody's looking to build in a floodplain area of the city, and we have several of those under the FEMA maps. So, if we do have some construction that's going to take place and we see that it falls within that area, then we call on Joe.
Yeah.
again, that single page that I'd provided to the council showing the text class accounts, the balance as of today, as well as the Citizen State Bank. I wish they would figure out some way that they could allow me to print it just like I do for text class, but I have to write those in.
Maybe we ought to sit down and take a look, see if we can figure something out.
It takes maybe 2 minutes or so, just having to go to the Citizen State Bank account, and I just write it off of each of the listings that they have for those accounts. But it's handwritten instead of being printed out.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. With that, I'll leave it with the council to make a decision. Thank you.
Make a motion to accept January financial report.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll have to strike 18 for now
Postpone that, Mayor, till we're still in search.
and recess to executive session. Or is there any need tonight?
I don't see that on our, no, sir.
Meeting adjourned.
Any communication from the audience?
Communication from the audience? Sir? Sir? Yes. Carl Minch?
Okay, Carl Minch, 540 Galahad Loop. I was going to pass on this, but the fence thing came up. In Key West, adjacent to a road, you have a 4-foot fence, but the top 2 feet have to have 50% open area. They do that because storms like hurricanes, which we occasionally have here, blow the fences down into the street and create a problem for emergency response. That's one reason. Now, perhaps we can solve most people's objections by having, if you have a 5-foot solid fence, you can have a 5-foot solid gate. But if you want it taller than 5 foot, you make it, a 50% open area or something like that, so it doesn't create a big wind block that'll come down in a storm. Anyway, that's, Skip, I think you mentioned the big sort of fixed gates, or I don't even know what you call that, the high clearance permanent structure. That wouldn't be covered in this because that's not an immovable portion. If they do an ordinance, most trailers are taller than 8 foot, so or a lot of trailers are, so you'd have to let people do them even higher. Thank you.
Council comments?
Thank y'all for coming.
Yes.
Come back now, you hear?
Yes, it is nice to see a crowd out there. It is. And David Rader, it's really good to see you, sir.
It is.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any word on Terry? Any updates?
No, sir. He's seems to be doing just fine. He's carrying his hugging teddy bear around with him everywhere. Steve, is there anything you want to say? I mean, I heard him on the phone today with Mr. Zachary.
He looks really good. He's lost some weight, which is good.
He said he lost 65 pounds, but he's still heavy.
His rehab is actually progressing pretty good, so we're hoping sometime in February we'll start seeing him back around.
Yeah, the good news is there was no heart damage. It was all arterial, and that's all been repaired. We are adjourned. Thank y'all for coming. Motion seconded. Everybody said aye. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you.
When you heading back?